I'm doing good. Got a good slate of basketball games, Game 7s, NFL schedule release. Got to practice today. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Big practice today. 2 weeks left in the baseball season, right? Your little league schedule there with your son.
Man, 2 more weeks.
And that started March, right? Or end of February?
End of March. Well, we had tryouts in beginning of March. Starts end of March. Start practice. More like
you got all stars too.
So you're gonna have July 4th weekend.
You're gonna quite the baseball grind here for a little bit. Were you able to watch any of the? I feel like if the Giants just played the Rockies, you guys would be good.
And they look great against Luis Matos. Looks like he's Willie Mays.
Never beat you guys at your. It just seems like you for all of life. You guys never. I know they're bad on the road, like historically, but it just seems like you guys never lose them. Like you must feel extra confident when the Rockies.
Yeah, the Rockies are pathetic. So I do feel confident against
the Rockies. Fire, though, come in to play you guys. They have won 7 in a row.
They were due for losses then. We gave them what they were due for.
Then when you got your Luis Bonds, he's doing that real for you.
Willie Mays out there.
10 RBIs and did like 2. And he was the guy that robbed the home run too, right?
Yeah.
I guess he's just on one right now, or do you think you actually have an Eric Burns type scenario in you?
I think he'll stay up the rest of the year. I mean, I don't know how long he'll be good. Casey Smith did the same thing last year, came up and was getting RBIs left and right. And I think he has just as many RBIs for the rest of his career as he did those first 2 weeks. What's the
my greatest example of those things? Like, I don't know, just one random guy, and then you got playing time over a while. All right, so we'll get into little Warriors, little Raiders, little Niners, little A's, as we did a little Giants here already. All right. As we're getting the show started, we'll get into some bonanza stuff here. It's not every day you see the number one golfer end up with a mugshot. What did you? I mean, now that you followed up on it a little bit, what do you kind of make of?
I remember waking up going, he's getting arrested. What is going on? These people, he must have almost ran over a cop. And then I see the charges and I'm like, oh, he did run over a cop. And then I see the video. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Do we not know who this guy is? He's about to play in a major. He's won 4 of the last 5 tournaments. I don't know. It seems like a big just misunderstanding, but just funny news waking up to. I didn't know Scotty had that in him.
Everybody, he gets the bail bonds on the back of his shirt now. Yeah, that's a little bit.
the orange jumpsuit mugshot. It doesn't get much better than that.
Here comes the money. He's got it coming out. That was so rare. My buddy, it's like most of us all follow at least one of the 4 major sports, right? Where we talk about but then occasionally I'll have my father-in-law that says that's literally what he watches is the tennis channel. So he'll talk to me about these tournaments that I know they exist, but I'm not there watching every little side of it. And then I have this guy that I work with. He's the
Sony Open in San Jose.
Yeah, exactly. He watches all that. He's been watching all these tournaments get ready for the French Open. And I got this buddy. He watches all the golf tournaments, and it's hilarious to be I work. I mean, he brings in the TV at work to watch all of it on his computer and TV and stuff like that. So it's just funny, how we know these major sports, he knows golf like that. And I just don't, I guess maybe I don't have the time to do it or follow it that much, but it's just funny to me that there are people out there that follow these other niche sports fully, right? So.
Oh yeah, it's like Josh Edwards on the Variety Sports Network doing the left or all left.
Yeah,
left
exactly.
Turn. Don't follow that. I don't get it. I'm like, how do you? It's entertaining though. Go check it out if you're into NASCAR, but it's just not something I follow close enough.
He wants me to jump on the Indy 500 thing, I guess, for a few minutes on his next week show on Memorial Day or something like that. And I was like, gosh, I don't watch that. I was like, this is the 4-wheel race, right? No, I just go, and he goes, he goes, no, that will be Make It Good. I go, oh, Make It Good that I know nothing. He's like, yeah. I was like, all right. Well. He's like, you can ask questions. I was like, well, there will definitely be a lot of questions and a lot of blank faces. That's what there will be when you're talking about whoever.
Who had the best pit stop?
What a stop! At least I guess in the Indy 500, right? It's not just left turns, or am I wrong about that? Is there actually?
I have no idea.
I know they drink milk. I know they drink milk at the end of it. And they kiss bricks.
This is true.
So I do know a little bit about it, that part of it. So I got that week with it. What do you do? So we got the Game 7s today. Did you watch the OKC Thunder game? I went over to my parents' house yesterday.
I did.
They're back from Ireland. So we got my mom has an accent now. It's weird.
Very nice.
Goes,
the luck of the Irish, like the little.
So we go over there, and maybe the Mavericks had a little luck of the Irish on their side. They got a few friendly bounces in that fourth quarter, made some big stops. SBA did everything he can. I still have no idea what OKC is doing with Chet on offense, but what's your thoughts of Irving and Luka being able to finish off in Game 7 there?
I mean, Kyrie Irving is ridiculous. Luka is ridiculous. Whoever their GM is, I don't know who it is off the top of my head, did a great job building around these two guys because I thought this roster was pretty dead in the water. And we'll get into other rosters later, but I thought these two guys weren't going to have anything. And they bring in these athletic wings who can defend, shoot, and do everything they need them to do. And then they bring in Gafford and Lively. They draft Lively, who's been a revelation. They're good. They're tough. They have two offensive guys who are basically unguardable when they're on. And then they have these wings who defend unbelievably. So hats off to them. I just say that I think the end of the game is where this got interesting. Like, what are you doing? Like, where it gets to a hot pot. What are you doing challenging that? Like, you're gonna lose your timeout. Stupid. Like, would you? And it makes Stupid. The NBA like challenging, bro. Because people, if they didn't challenge and they missed the shot, they'd be like, "This coach is an idiot. Why didn't he challenge?" Like, so it like puts you in this predicament where I don't know. Something has to be changed about it.
In some ways, they should just. All right, think of it this way: no replay, just he still the timeout, and he has the 3 free throws. So, like, obviously, at the end of the day, that would have played out better for OKC. Yeah. As soon as he did that, I was like, "You will just miss that third one." I mean, they're going to get a way worse shot than anything else. You'll foul him. You'll be fine. So they ended up doing that, and he missed it perfectly. What a beautiful miss! Most people don't even miss that. It always cracks me up. They always like end up with that's always been a weird pet peeve of mine is like on the NBA and college, like they always like easily step over the line on these like missed free throws. Like most of the time, I'm like, what are we doing? It up. So, all right. So yeah, the Game 7, Luka, Kyrie, they advanced was the second time now in 3 years. Last year they didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's how that probably helped them to get Lively in it. But the Gafford and Washington trades obviously really paid off. I hear a rumor that the Warriors are in on Ingram. Do you think we could get would you want Ingram? I would love to have Mr. Ingram on the Warriors. Brandon Ingram.
Well, yeah, he'd be just what we need, a guy who can go get a bucket. Like, we don't have that outside of Steph. There's nobody who's going to go get their own bucket. Obviously, the injury history leaves you a little cause for concern, but I take my chances with a guy like Ingram. Yeah, he can give you 25 a game. He's an all-star. He's a legit all-star if he's healthy. I'd absolutely would take Ingram on.
Can we trade Dunleavy in the trade desk? Can we trade him too? I've heard like Ingram in the rumors. I always like hearing the KD rumor every once in a while. Every once in a while I'll hear that one, but I hear he's unhappy in Phoenix. My gosh, what is good? I don't know.
When was the last time he was happy?
But he got Coach Bud now, so he should be. He's got a championship coach. He got a championship. Steve, do you think
there's only one Bud on his mind?
Do you think Steve Kerr goes when Curry goes?
Yeah.
Or do you think he's?
I don't. I think Curry's gone after this contract. Though, from what his interview looked like, he seemed like he's going to play this out, run his guy. And I think after this 2-year window, I think those 3 guys won't be able to compete anymore. He still somehow believes that these 3 guys can win a championship for him. Seems a little crazy to me, but I feel like that's how he feels, and I think he's gone after this 2-year stretch. And especially he's burning from both ends doing this Olympics thing. Like,
and Kerr's coaching it too, and then you have Curry playing in it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and Curry's playing in it, so you have hit that part of it, and I'm sure it's part of the organization will go with Kerr there as well. I don't know. I just think it's kind of I'm kind of wondering if they're because Popovich hung on after Duncan left. I'm just not sure if Kerr's going to take that same route. Most coaches don't. So like back to Ingram real quick. Like obviously Durant is the next guy that a lot of people kind of claim. Do you think it's that simple for us? We just get a second and third score and we're right back in it.
I think we need a big. We need a Gafford, a Lively. We need some. I mean, Trace Jackson-Davis provided a little bit of that, but we need one more. Though Looney just seemed absolutely terrible last year. I think you need 2 bigs who can just protect the rim and not be stiffs out there. And we have one at this point who can play 20 minutes. We need another. That's what I think. I'd score one more scorer and another big who can do a little bit of something out there. And Looney doesn't provide that anymore.
That's a good call on the big. They definitely need that for sure. Because that's always, like I said, the finals they won, they got lucky. Still, they never had to play really a big outside of Jokic.
Oh, they played Jokic, but he was playing with the worst guard backcourt I've ever heard of. I can't even think of their names off the top of my head.
Thailand was one of them. I know that. Mr. Bones.
Yeah, Bone. I had some little European guy who was just actually like this that day.
No, that one they should have.
Body Morris.
That's why when Draymond says he locked up, he did back then, but now that doesn't. When you say lock up, like he made it very tough, but that was a lot different Jokic 4 years ago. So even 2 years ago when he was playing with those guys, but he still won an MVP back then. All right, so we got that. The Warriors. I just when I'm going through like Basketball Reference, and I just still can't believe they have an award called the Clutch Player of the Year award, and then I just cannot believe the guy that ends up with the 10th seed in the West got the Clutch Player. I don't know. I mean, I don't get it. It was almost like, all right, this award is kind of idiotic. We have a face here that he could sell it somehow. We're gonna give it to Curry. He did have some good moments at the end of the game, but he also had some terrible moments this year at the end of the game. I remember a few not so good ones as well. And again, we had the 10 seed, so I don't understand. I just don't get it. It cracks me up.
I'm with you. There's no way he's the most clutch player in the NBA this year. I mean, I know the points indicate he scored the most clutch points, but I also saw him turn the ball over probably more than most players in the NBA in clutch time. We blew like 8 15-point games. How the hell are we have the most clutch player on the team? It has to be like Jokic or somebody. I don't know. You don't want to give Jokic every award, I understand, but
it's just such a joke. I don't know. I was like going over. I was like, how in the world? I was like, how in the world does this happen? No, who should have got it? Maybe it would have been Jalen Brunson. I feel like over the last couple of weeks we've been having a little back, maybe 3 weeks now. I feel like a little back and forth about this Knickerbockers team and just kind of where their place is in the year. Then you were on double with this, and I felt like you took even more shots at the Knicks a little bit. And so I feel like I have to kind of defend a little bit of what they're doing right now. But I feel like maybe you're right. Maybe I got to give you the floor a little bit too. But I feel like you've been calling the run a fluke. And I don't understand what you.
And let me say, I said it before Draymond Green. I hate that Draymond Green said it because I hate agreeing with Draymond Green. Carry on.
And I'm sure that one really stuck when you heard that. I'm sure that one. But
it's stealing my content.
I just don't understand how the season the Knicks are having, the playoff run they're having, with the injuries they're having. I don't understand how this makes it a fluke, especially after they made it to the semifinals last year as well. So it's not like they just like a one-team wonder, and then they make trades, and then some of their better players are out. I just don't see how it's a fluke.
It's a fluke in the way that they play in the Eastern Conference, and there's nobody good in the Eastern Conference. Like, if they're in the West, they're the Warriors, Suns, and Lakers. They're in that level. Like, the Warriors, Suns, Lakers all went 20-10 against the East. I can guarantee the Knicks didn't have a winning record against the West just based on their record against the East. Probably around 500. I just don't think they're winning it. I guess calling them the Hawks is a little disrespectful. They're more like the Toronto Raptors back in the LeBron era. They don't feel like a threat to ever win a championship. I don't think they'll ever get by Boston. They're not beating any of the top teams in the West. They've beaten nobody. They beat Embiid with Bell's palsy. They're playing the Indiana Pacers team that was barely 500. They've been terrible the last month of the season. That's why Brunson's had a great run. But Stephen A. Smith saying this is the best run by a small guard in the NBA history is asinine. It's like, did Isaiah Thomas not play in 90? Did Steph Curry not play in 2014-15? I don't know. That's where I feel like this is just a New York Knicks homer thing. And these contracts are coming up. They don't have many more years where these guys are going to be paid at where they're like OG's getting paid. Hart's getting paid. Brunson's definitely getting paid in 2 years.
I guess I just don't see fluke though as the proper word for this team. I feel like if anything, they've outdone like what they should be. And then when you're like, well, the one comment that I just don't understand, you'll have to explain this one to me, is when you keep saying, well, we'll see what they do against the Celtics. It's like, well, who at the beginning of the year thought they were going to beat the Celtics? Nobody thought they were going to beat the Celtics. So, like, it doesn't make what they're doing a fluke, though, to me. If anything, it means they're exceeding expectations. And then, again, when you have injuries go down and you're still playing the way they do with that type of energy, I don't see – and then Brunson, we'll get into him more in a second here, but I feel like his clutchness has kind of shown up a little bit more in some of their games as well. I just don't see how you could be judging this team based on a Celtics series.
I mean, this is also the fluky part. They haven't won one road game on the road in the playoffs. They haven't won one. They should have lost game 1 against the Philadelphia 76ers, but the refs were god-awful. Game 2, they should have lost, but the Sixers blew that one, and Glenn Rivers. And then game 1 against the Pacers was given to them by a lot of referees. Brunson was clutch. He made plays, but he also turned the ball over a couple of times. A kickball was called. It wasn't a kickball. A couple fouls. It didn't seem like they were fouls, especially the moving straight. So, like, there's that issue, too. You haven't won one road game. How good are you, really? You're getting the New York home cooking. They want the Knicks in the playoffs. We know this. Like, so I don't know how sustainable this is. And I don't, like, as clutch as Jalen Brunson's been, I still don't think he's the number one on, like, and that's where I'm like, I don't believe in this team to win a championship or even get to the finals.
So I think maybe the thing is the way you're judging them is a lot different than me. So you're taking it all the way to a championship level. It's like, no, I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking if you made the Eastern Conference Finals, that is almost like making it to the finals for a team like that. Like that's where to me it's not a fluke.
Okay, that's fair then. If that's what we're basing,
but that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't see it as a fluke run. Like maybe you're just saying the franchise is going to have a fluke slight run. And then I look back at it, it was like, so. I think the injuries is a big thing. I mean, if they have some legit guys that are out, so like that would really help them. So I'm not, you know what I mean? Like Mitchell Robinson, Bogdanovich is still, he can shoot a little bit. Obviously, that was a big injury. And then you have OG, that's obviously a big injury as well. So those are big. I mean, I know the Pacers are missing your boy from Arizona as well, but I know that happens in the playoffs. But who knows with Hart today what goes on there.
And when you're running guys 40 to 48 minutes a game, these injuries are going to happen. It's not like this is what happens to players who play this much every other game. Like, it's not surprising these guys are going down. Obviously, It sucks, and I wish they were healthy. But I don't think those guys put them over the – Hartenstein's been great outside, like with Mitchell Robinson even now. Obviously, having two guys who can stay with good endurance and be ready to go helps. I'm not saying that doesn't. But Bogdanovich wasn't even getting big minutes when he was healthy. Like, he'd play games and he'd only get like 12 minutes. Sometimes when he was hot, he'd get minutes. And I like Bogdanovich as a player. 6'10"
chair out there.
Yeah, exactly. So he's going to have his games where he's not that. Obviously, the injuries would make them a better team.
I think that Mitchell Robinson is a bigger injury than most people thought. Because him and
I
love how him and
Hartenstein is so good.
I just like how they can off balance him a little bit for a few minutes, and in certain matchups. He just hits the boards. He's like that Tristan Thompson guy where like there's games where you're like, my God, this guy's gonna be an issue if we you know what I mean? Like if we can't do it, he's just gonna get every second shot. Which they need. The
funny thing is we didn't even bring up Julius Randle. Like
no, because
we've seen him in the playoffs.
A while ago too. Yeah, well that too. And it happened a while ago. I think that's part of it. So you compared the two teams you picked out the most was the Blazers from 2019. And you picked out, that's what you said. You said the Blazers from 2019, and you said the Hawks from 2021. That's what these Knicks teams kind of feel like to you, I guess. And you mentioned the Raptors a little bit. So I went back, looked at those Blazers teams. That 2019 team, just to give you a little perspective, they won that first round series. That was the 4-1 series over OKC, over Paul George, where he hits the game winner there. With Westbrook and George. They beat Denver in the semifinals in a 7-game series in Denver. It was kind of funny to think about. Denver could have made the Western Conference Finals back then as well, 2019. So they win there in a 7-game series, and they lose to the Warriors, as you said, 4-0 and a sweep. Curry was out a little bit that series as well. But if I remember that series correctly, which is weird, and that's why I get why Draymond maybe he calls it a fluke because they ended up going by him, but I believe the Blazers were up by like 20 in almost every, like 15 or 20 in like almost every game that they played that were. So I don't know. It's in some ways you can say the Warriors were a fluke that season to make it to the finals. If that was the definition that Draymond was going with in some ways. So they had that team. Their third best scorer was our guy back in the day, Enes Kanter. Now he's changed his name form. Now
Freedom.
Right, Mr. Freedom. Rodney Hood, I believe, was number 4 scorer. So that's what you're looking like roster-wise with that team. And then the year before that, the Blazers, just to give you a perspective, because the Knicks made the semifinals, I feel like they have a little bit more. The Blazers got swept by a Pelicans team, if you remember, with Anthony Davis randomly. They got swept in that round 4-0.
I think Boogie Cousins was on that team.
I don't get
on it yet.
I think he got hurt before they even made the playoffs, right? So he was out there. He made it there. The Knicks, like I said, they've made it, built it up a little bit more. The Hawks team you were referring to, they didn't make the playoffs the year before. They were a 5 seed in 2021. They beat the Sixers, or they beat the Sixers to go to the Eastern Conference Finals in 7 games with Embiid. I don't know. Their run, when I look at it, the Hawks, they went 20-47 the year before. They had young Collins. Their third scorer was Jabari Parker. That's what the Hawks team that they had there. They also had Herder.
What about Bogdanovich or Herder? Bogdanovich might not even been on that team.
No, he wasn't. They had Hunter. Herder was kind of young. Reddish, Len, and remember
Capella.
Deadman. He was on that team as well. Capella was there as well. So those were like their high scores, but. So maybe that team, but I feel like the history of this Knicks team that for me doesn't make it more of a fluke. And I feel like now we can maybe work our way. If you have any thoughts on that too, but like into Brunson a little bit. Like I feel like I don't know. I feel like you're having a hard time. Like, yeah, I get it. He's not better. Like I did my teams, right? Like this was my first team this year. Tatum, Jokic, Luka, SGA, Giannis. And then I said Brunson to me was the 6th best player. Am I still taking Edwards? Am I still taking Booker over him? Like in a vacuum, of course, because of their athletic potential and their size. But I think on this year, and I think that's maybe where we're not thinking the same. He was the 6th best player this year. And Tyler, he had the 5th most MVP vote. He finished 5th place in MVP voting. There's a chance he makes first team All NBA.
No, he's not making first team over Luka and SGA. You can say that, but with Booker was put in, you got to look at the situation too. It's not all in a vacuum. He's asked to shoot the ball 25 times a game. A lot of these guys are putting up great numbers if they handle the ball like that. Booker's playing in like a weird system where he's like this little hand, like you have the ball, I have the ball, like no movement, no continuity. Where Brunson has all that. He's asked to do everything, and he's given the chance to do everything. Like, and
kidding me though? He has but you're just. I mean, like he has Durant to play with. Like,
but they're not. They don't play together. The coaching's not good. Like they didn't play together. It was just.
He had to play with Randall for a long time.
And look at his numbers when he played with Randall. They weren't quite as good.
Maybe not, but he's still having a good season. That makes it tougher. But I'm just saying, Tyler, 5th MVP voting. Now I'm saying he was the 6th best player. So, and I'm just saying that's kind of on line with where most people saw him this year. And I think you're kind of not. I think you're thinking too. Like,
who's a better player? That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking about.
But this year he might be better. This year, like this year, he might.
Sure. He might have had the 5th best statistical season. He's not the 5th best impact.
So watching him in the playoffs, you don't feel that way either. I mean, he's averaging 33 points a game on close to 50% shooting, and he's
haven't won a game on the road. How do you not win a game on the road if you're the 5th best player in the league?
There's got to be a
6, whatever you want to say. You got to win some games on the road.
Remember the Celtics having that run though to the finals? They did the same thing. Every game was 7 games, and they never won a road game.
This is true. But they were also 22-23.
They did have
28, 27. I don't know. It is. I don't believe in Jalen. I think he's a great player. Don't get me wrong. He deserves to be an All NBA.
You believe in him.
Yeah, I never said anything about him not being an All NBA player. I just don't think he's a top 10 player in the NBA. I don't even think he's top 15. I don't have a list in front of me to say it. But
how long do you think he's been in the NBA?
7 years.
It's 4th year. Was it?
No, he's been in the league more than 4 years.
Well, how many times is it? How many playoff runs has he been in? 4. All right.
4.
All right. So the first one with Dallas, right? He averages 8. Then he jumps it up that next year to 21.6, 27.8 last year. Now he's already at 33.7. I don't know. I just think that I don't know, T. We'll see. This is sixth season. This is sixth season. So I mean, still he's 27. You're right. Maybe he's got 2 years left on a deal. We'll see if he gets paid this year. We'll see what happens probably next year in a contract thing with it. I just think you're underestimating the season he definitely had this year. I mean, that's all my biggest point. And I think I've even saw a few tweets where you're like, oh no, he's actually maybe like you're like, all right, maybe he could be better or something. I thought or something like that. So maybe you're seeing some signs then. To me, he's been a lot. His clutchness is pretty good.
He's been unbelievable in these playoffs. He has unbelievable games, and then he does they get blown out. So it's just really weird. Like he'll still get his numbers though. So his numbers don't go down when they get blown out, but his impact on the game goes down. But he does have these games where you're like, man, this is ridiculous what he's doing right now. Like he's had special games, and I'm not going to take that away from him because he has. But it's not even. It's mostly the team more than him.
I got you.
But I do think he's set up to just put up unreal numbers, like in the perfect. He has offensive rebounders, he has wings who will shoot a three or pass the ball, like in Josh Hart and DiVincenzo. He has guys who can set good screens. He does what he needs to do with that, but it just we'll see how it goes forward.
So, we'll see what he could lose today. I mean, it has like nobody
be a bad loss, even though there's injuries. The injuries also is like an excuse. They played 6 guys even when they had 10 guys available. That's what he does.
Playing 7, Tyler. Now they're playing. Okay. They're like I looked at their first playoff. I looked at the first playoff, the first couple playoff games. They were playing 8 people. Mitchell Robinson and Bogdanovich were getting minutes, and then McBride were getting minutes. That's what it seemed like. Those were the guys getting minutes. What are we doing there? We were doing a little arguing there about Jalen Brunson and the Knicks there, about if they're a fluke or not. These were some other teams, kind of as I was doing as we were talking about, as you were kind of bringing up fluke teams. I was like, all right, let me kind of go along with what Tyler's thinking. Maybe these were these teams I left over since 2000. I kind of thought maybe they made some runs to the Eastern Conference Finals, kind of or Western Conference. In 01-02, you had the Celtics. They lost. That was the year they lost to the Nets, and they had Pierce, Walker, like Kenny Anderson. That was the year they had that one magical game. They lost 4-2. But then I was thinking, like, maybe all those Nets teams, was that considered a fluke? I don't know. Like, I don't know how you look at that. If there's a fluke team, I don't know. They had Kidd. The 07 Jazz, which is the team that the Warriors beat the Mavericks in 07, and then they lost to the Jazz. That Jazz team lost to the Spurs. That team, that was a terrible series. I remember watching the Spurs Jazz one in 07. That never seemed like a real. The Cavs making a run to the finals and then getting swept by the Cavs. That was a little flukish there. Felt like that too. The Arenas Wizards teams. You never felt like they probably had a shot, did you?
No, not at all. I never felt like anyone in those LeBron years had a shot in the East.
Well, and see, you brought up the Hawks team. The one that if I would consider one of the fluke it'd be the 2015 team where they got the number 1 seed, and they get swept in the Eastern Conference Finals by the LeBron and Irving's Cavs, like pretty easily. I think Game 3 was the close one. That would be the team if I think of a fluke. That was the team like where they got the 1 seed. They had a great regular season. It's like, no, this team is not real. Like that, I guess I look more at a fluke.
But I'm looking at it as more one guy having this great run as opposed to like the 4 all-star guys who are just like Joe Johnson's probably the best player on that team. But like Trae Young having the Jalen Brunson type run, that's where I'm like, it's kind of flukish to me. And like you brought up Jalen Brunson's playoff numbers last year. They were good also. I didn't realize they were that high. I didn't know he was averaging 27.
He got 21 against the Warriors the year before that.
I knew he was in the 20s for that one. But just basically because we played him 5 times, 6 times. That's where I'm sitting more fluke. It's not the team as much as like how they play. It's very similar that one guy has the ball. He has these wing defenders. He has Clint Capella.
And then my favorite. Well, then you already brought up the Cavs one, the 2016 one. And then my favorite one. A lot of people we got a lot of headlines. This one might be the one that 2015 championship, the fluke run for the Warriors. There, that was the talk all summer because Irving got hurt. The fluke.
Jump shooters can't win championships.
What a fluke championship. And they come out the next year.
Well, they did. The Kawhi got hurt that year.
24. Well, everybody got hurt that year. They always bring up the one in the first round. I'm like, that one doesn't matter. We got it. Stuff. I'm like, it doesn't matter who that was. So that was kind of So I did some research, Tyler, getting ready for this one. I looked back at a lot of teams. That was kind of where it was. I still feel like you cannot consider this Knicks run a fluke because of those scenarios. You could say it's a bailout with the injuries or whatever, but I think if those guys are healthy, they definitely push Boston to way more of a series. If they do advance, I think they can get one. I don't think the Pacers get any.
I don't think Pacers get any. I think it's that I look at the Eastern Conference and just think it's a trash conference outside of Boston. Like that's anybody. We're gonna have these rotating second guys all the time in the East. I feel like until Giannis gets a younger running mate or Embiid might getting rid of Tobias, bringing in Paul George, then that'll be difficult. Like that'll be a legit 3 guys.
Yeah,
I just don't think there's a good team in the East, especially this year.
Get Philly Ingram.
That'd be get Philly Ingram, yeah.
That'd be a good thing to get those 3 going at it. We'll see what happens with Damian Lillard too. I'm curious if we'll see. Yeah. What goes on there with Milwaukee? I feel like they're kind of in a weird spot here the next couple of years with a few things. All right, so that was kind of fun looking at flukes possibly here. Making some runs in the Eastern Conference Finals. We've been talking about it for 3 weeks, but we just never got to do a show. So it's kind of been built up over the time, and the Knicks have kind of stayed in it, which has made it fun as we got a chance to talk about it. All right. Should we get into kind of winners, losers? I have a little bit of everything this week, and we'll call it a pod. Tyler, you got anything you want me to throw it out?
I got winners. The winners is the NBA. They got 2 Game 7s today. I can't believe Denver's in a Game 7. Wasn't expecting that after coming back and taking a 3-2 lead. That's the one I'm most excited about. We get to see how he performs in a Game 7. Can he take it over like someone would 30 years ago?
Can he do it like Chef Curry? No, I'm just kidding.
Chef Curry.
My winner, me and you, we called it Mr. Paul Stevens. We were like, Josh, you're out of your phone. This guy's gonna. That was a terrible performance. He's going to do unreal this next time, and he's facing the same team, so he's going to do even better. And he did 11 Ks, no hits. I don't think we could have said anything.
Unbelievable.
I mean, walked a guy, what a loser. So he did that. So he was unreal. Another thing too, I thought was kind of a winner. Guy Fieri might be coming by our school on Tuesday, so we might see him Tuesday.
You have a son in the school? Well, he's coming.
No son in the school. We know somewhere there. Young Sheldon, I watched it a little bit, started it for you. It does look pretty good. We watched the first 2 episodes we did there. You said that was the show, right? Yeah, Young Sheldon. You started watching it?
I watched the first 2 seasons. I kind of taken a break.
I thought you said you liked it, though.
It is good. It's good. Yeah. It's better than Big Bang. I never got into Big Bang.
My sister loves that show. All right. What do you got for loser of the week here?
Well, I got one more winner we mentioned.
Yep, go ahead. What do you got?
Luis Matos playing like Willie Mays. 22 years old. 26 at-bats, 2 home runs, 17 RBIs, and 26 at-bats. Just absolutely ridiculous week for Luis Matos.
What we talked about
first on losers.
We gave him a little love.
Yeah, we did.
Too big Luis. But he deserved to get 10 RBIs at Rob Hobra as well. All right, losers of the week. The overhype of the NFL schedule for me is just always, I don't get it. I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. It's one of the oddest things in the world. Like, let's go, baby. We're going to go 13-4. I can feel it. We got it. They're going to play the Eagles after the bye week. Do you know how prepared they're going to be for that game? So it's like all this stuff. And like, so that stuff I always get. A loser for people that don't have Netflix. Christmas Day games getting moved to Netflix. So I don't know if it's so they get over there with it as well. Netflix will be there. Chiefs off season going to be going any odder for the Chiefs. I feel like they've had like 4 people at least arrested. I know that and so far this offseason. So, or it seems like they've at least been in because then you have the Buccaneers thing that's getting overblown and taking off and going to be a huge thing there. So you have that situation too that's going on with the NFL. They had to come out and make a statement there. And then I heard that inside the NBA might break up. I don't know how you feel about that, but it's kind of they've been around together. Shaq. Shaq to me could always go in that situation. For me, I know a lot of people find him funny, but the original 3 to me was always the best, which is Kenny. But Tyler, those are my losers of the week. Had a few on there.
Yeah, my loser's another one we mentioned. very quickly, or not even very quickly, but Scotty Scheffler and the police, no body cam, don't get any footage. I was hoping for a little footage, and the fans lose out on that one. And then boxing, Tyson Fury does not take his loss with very much grace. Says he deserves a win. He says the judges were rooting for Usyk because they're in a war-torn country. I don't know. Just not a good look for your big Tyson. But great boxing match. That was good for boxing.
You watch it?
I did. I watched it on like this TikTok illegally. You can edit that out if you have to.
I cannot edit anything. Hopefully nobody watches.
Yeah.
All right. I also want to just have in there Blake Snell stealing money. Sorry, just to go.
John Hurley's out for the season.
Oh, that's a loser too. That sucks.
It's a big blow. Well, Luis Matos gets to be Willie Mays.
It makes Bob Melvin look smart. All right. So Tyler McGurk, that was a good show this week. Have a good baseball practice today. Have a good work week. All right. So for Tyler McGurk, I'm Daren Breyer. We'll see you guys on episode 176 next week. Peace.
Okay.